first up for the day is going to be Matt Campbell's extension. So Matt Campbell, where am I? There it is. So Matt Campbell signed a brand new contract. It was agreed to last fall, but it was finally kind of signed on the dotted line this week and finalized, or at least announced as finalized anyways. And there's a few different parts to this that I think are really, really interesting. So let's kind of take a look at what's going on here. So, as reported by Max Olson, so it's an 8-year extension. So he's signed through 2032. And then he is signed through 2032. He's getting $5 million a year, which for a coach that has won as much as he has at a difficult play for the job that he's done at Iowa State, $5 million is probably not as high it's not as much money as he deserves. But that is because he voluntarily capped his own pay. We can check out kind of the full tweet here too. So finalized an extension through 2032. He'll earn $5 million a year in total compensation. The three times Big 12 Coach of the Year took a discount on the deal to ensure his staff pool increased and allowed ISU to allocate an additional $1 million in revenue share funds for football. So he limited his own pay specifically to make sure that his assistants get paid well, and that Iowa State can continue to work through the budgetary, whatever you want to call it, constraints, obstacle course, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to call them problems, maybe problems, but just the challenges of funding revenue share in the long term, working through that. $1 million out of 20 and a half it's only 5%, but it's 5% directly out of the pocket of Matt Campbell, which I think is really, really big. But getting the assistants paid is also very interesting here, or it's particularly notable. And the reason that I am not surprised that this is part of his contract situation as far as increasing pay, for making sure his assistants pay stays competitive and making sure everybody's taken care of, along with the revenue share thing, is because this is not actually the first time that Matt Campbell has functionally paid his assistants out of his own pocket. During the COVID season, when lots of teams across the country were docking pay, like they were cutting pay for the head coach and assistants to try to clear up some cap space, or to clear up some budget space, to account for budget shortfalls because of lost revenue at home games and TV revenue and all that coming down. Lots of people had their pay cut. But at Iowa State, Matt Campbell cut his own pay specifically to pay his assistants. And I don't know if he paid like 100% of the difference, but he paid his own assistants out of his own pocket in 2020 for COVID. So this is not a surprising move. Who Matt Campbell is. And then the revenue sharing thing too is another big part of this, because the challenges that Iowa State and frankly Iowa face going forward as far as covering the costs of revenue sharing, and essentially pay for play to the athletes, is that there really isn't any expectation that the coach needs to cover this or that they're responsible for this in any way. But Matt Campbell took it upon himself to try to make the situation better at Iowa State. And I know going into the 10th season of the Matt Campbell era, we shouldn't be like the idea float that somehow it continues to float around the internet at times, but the idea that Matt Campbell isn't here for the long haul, or that he's, just looking to jump up as soon as he can type of thing. If anybody that still believes that he's looking to get out to get to a bigger job or whatever it is, I mean, I mean, not only should the him going into his 10th season at Iowa State be, a pretty big, indicator that that's not the case. Um, him docking his own, or decreasing his own pay to cover $1 million in the budget for athletics to cover revenue sharing is I mean, that's about as big of a big of a billboard as you can put up as a coach saying, "I'm not looking to leave." If he thought it was gonna be a big problem going forward, and he was worried about it and he was thinking about maybe leaving after this year or something like that, you're not gonna dock your own pay. You're not gonna dock yourself $1 million just to cover, a year or 2 of revenue sharing. It's just you never see, frankly, people, but coaches in general do things like this. Um, True acts of, I know, which is, it's funny to say because he's still earning $5 million a year. Like he's still going to be paid $5 million a year, but it's uncommon to see things like this where in a sport that historically has very, the coaching, the coaching carousel for a long time has largely been driven by this external pressure to, job hop, to jump up to the next job, um, to get a little bit more pay, to get to a slightly more prestigious program, and to do all this and, not worry about having to kind of restart every few years because you just got to keep, winning. You just got to win in the moment, and then you just go up to the next thing and don't worry about, anything else going on. And I think this move is such a good counter to that entire mindset that I don't know if people are giving it the proper credit for what it is. They just see an extension by, they see a Power 5 football coach that's already making a bunch of money and not really seeing the contract for what it is, which is a commitment to Iowa State, a commitment to um making the revenue sharing, to keeping Iowa State competitive, in the in the Big 12 and across the country. Because Matt Campbell absolutely believes he can, not just make it to a playoff, but get to a playoff and maybe, not just make it to a playoff, but win a playoff game or something like that, win a Big 12 title. That's you don't do this if you're on your way out the door or you are getting ready to leave or anything like that. Even, I mean, even coaches that are planning to be there for a while don't typically do this. But it is remarkable because when you can do this type of thing and say, "Hey, I took," you know, and he would never like brag about this to a recruiter or anything like that, but I hope a recruit can look at this and say, "Hey, look at this. This coach cares enough about this place and about the players to, take a decrease in his own pay, to limit his own pay specifically to help take care of his staff, to take care of the players, as far as their revenue sharing goes." So, it's I I think it's a really awesome thing because coaches are not expected to do that, and I don't know if they really should be. I mean, their contract is worth what he's worth. He could probably get he could probably, like, I would guess that the original, like, the full value that he could have gotten if he didn't, put the million in the revenue sharing and this in the staff pool, you know, my guess was that it was at least a 6.5 or $7 million contract. Um, which is still like not incredibly high, at this level, but it's still a pretty good number. Um, but yeah, it's it makes you wonder as a Cyclone fan what we did to deserve Matt Campbell. At like, hadn't won a damn thing, and then on a chance encounter where his Toledo team comes to Ames, and he's just so enthralled by the atmosphere and all that. You know, fast forward 12 years or 11 years, and here we are. It's pretty remarkable. I don't see any reason that he would be leaving anytime soon. I mean, he's already turned down opportunities for the NFL. He's turned down other bigger jobs at, blue blood schools. I know the big one was like we heard about USC, was basically they really wanted Matt Campbell. They offered him a big, they offered him a big check basically, and then he turned it down. And then they went and got Lincoln Riley, which isn't, not really working out for USC all that well. But I hope this puts to bed any like any of the continued discussion or the continued talking point that Campbell isn't here for the long run, that he's just going to use this as a stepping stone. If that wasn't already put to bed, it should be put to bed with this type of thing. The statement that makes, I don't think it can be overstated. And my guess is it will probably continue to be understated, because I don't think a lot of people are giving this a lot of credit. But it's very exciting, and couldn't be happier to have Matt in Ames as long as he wants to be here. The statue's already getting built at this point. Now he's just, he's just stat padding for a while. Not that like that's how Matt Campbell sees this, as like, oh, I need to pile up wins or anything like that. Like, it's not a secret. Like, he knows that he's the best, far and away the best coach Iowa State's ever had, and they're the most successful coach, I should say. And he knows that, everybody else knows that, but like, he's still doing it. He's still here because he loves football. He loves building programs. He loves doing things the way he wants to do them. And he loves having a supportive administration that, that helps him out whenever they can. I think this is an interesting point, and I don't think it's. I think you have a point here. Media members hate that there's a coach who cares more than just status when it comes to coaching. I would agree with that, and I believe that Matt Campbell would agree with that point as well. He's made that point a number of times in press conferences, where he is talking about, being somebody or doing something, and he recruits guys that want to do something rather than be somebody. And he's talked a number of times about, the kind of lamenting the current direction of society, where it's, as he would describe it, it's about me, 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 and what can I do for myself, and versus what can I do for us, for the team, for the people around me, for my family, for my friends, for my teammates, all of that, you know. And I think because that is such a and I think there's absolutely a ton of truth to that. That I think it is such a pervasive part of modern culture that I think media members are quick to assume that all people that make a lot of money are like that. Because, I mean, frankly, there are a lot of people that make a lot of money that are like that, that are they're very self-serving, you know, uh, self-serving, probably narcissistic to a certain extent, just a lot of things, a lot of traits we used to associate as being negative, and now they've kind of gotten a weird positive spin now, where going and get your bread and going taking care of yourself and all this or whatever is valued above basically everything. And yeah, I don't need to get into like sociological philosophy or anything like that, but you know, taking care of yourself, making sure yourself is taken care of is one thing, but like leaving behind teammates or being selfish or not caring if your actions or affect other people is you know a different problem. Jaybird says it would be a heck of a memory if he could hit his 100th career win in Ireland. I think that'd be awesome. I mean, spoiler alert, I'm probably going to pick Iowa State to win in Ireland. I think it'd be really cool to get his 100th win. He's already the winningest coach in Iowa State history. But getting the 100th win there, I think would be really cool. But the best part about it is Matt Campbell won't give two shits about it. He'll be asked like, "Oh, how do you feel about your 100th win?" He'd be like, "It's great, but we got South Dakota next week. We got to get ready for, and that we got to get home, get rest, focus on our recovery, get to practice, and get ready for South Dakota." And that's what you need to know about Matt Campbell, is that he truly doesn't care about any of that stuff. He clearly is not all that worried about the money part. doesn't care about he doesn't care about the numbers or the trophies or any of that stuff. It's just he's here to win football games. He's here to mold young kids coming out of high school into, you know, functioning productive adults by the time they leave the Iowa State football program, and also just win a bunch of football games on the way there. Yeah, Dixer's got a fair point here. Yeah, is any Cyclone fan not picking them? Probably not, because it's Iowa State and we're good, and it's Kansas State and we don't like them, and also it's a fun game. So, you know, I don't know why you wouldn't pick Iowa State. If you're picking Kansas, if you're an Iowa State fan picking Kansas State in this game for anything other than like betting purposes, like you think you're going to make money on Kansas State, you know, at that point, what are we even doing here? So, anyways, I just thought I was the news of this of extension, kind of just the terms coming out, I think speak volumes to what kind of how Matt Campbell treats the position, the job he has, the how he fits in the modern college world. He's certainly not beholden to the norms of his profession or to what modern society says he should do or that he should approach, his job status or anything like that. Dude just loves football and he loves coaching at a place with fans and the administration that loves people that love football. So, uh, you know, hats off to Matt Campbell for that, and looking forward to having him around for the foreseeable future.